Hello and welcome to Business Arena, live from Warsaw on TVP World. I'm your host, Marie Cato. Let's go to the latest business stories of the day. Żabka, Poland's largest convenience store chain, is gearing up for a highly anticipated IPO. The company's valuation could reach between 7 and 8 billion euro.
Every person in Poland knows this logo, and it's easy to understand why. Żabka is a chain which operates more than 10,000 stores in the country. Now, the well-known brand wants to float on the stock market in one of the biggest IPOs Poland has ever seen.
We estimate that the whole value of the IPO might be the biggest since Allegro. We have to remember that the markets, the financial markets in particular countries, are as strong as an amount of IPOs there is on those markets.
Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan Chase have been tapped to manage the IPO, ensuring the offering attracts global attention. To put this in perspective, the IPO of Allegro, Poland's biggest player in e-commerce, brought more than 2 billion euro. According to Bloomberg, Żabka's offering could be worth 1.3 billion euro, slightly less, but in the same league.
The valuation around 7 and 8 billion was issued at first in June, when there was a little bit different market conditions. Nowadays, we think that there is a possibility that such a huge valuation and such a huge market capitalization, unfortunately, will not be possible.
But even if XTB is right, Żabka's IPO valuation of less than 7 billion euro will put it close to Dino, another Polish store chain, which stands at 8.5 billion euro. Besides, the offering will only involve the sale of existing shares by the current owners. Therefore, the company will not acquire any new capital through this process.
The water levels in over 20 places along the Oder River in western Poland are still above alert levels. But the flood situation is under control. Receding water has allowed authorities in the affected Central European countries to start summing up the damage caused by the water. The government in Prague has begun assessing the full cost of the damage. The initial forecasts say the Czech budget deficit could increase by some 1.2 billion euros this year because of the floods. It's been estimated that at least 22 bridges will need to be demolished and built from scratch. Poland has secured more than 5 billion euro for a reconstruction program that the government in Warsaw is working on. To tackle the aftermath of the floods, each day at least 5,000 Polish soldiers will be involved in reconstruction operations, which are estimated to cost roughly 40 million euro. Hungary decided to lower its key interest rate by a quarter point to 6.5% on Tuesday, still matching Romania for the highest benchmark rate in the European Union. The Hungarian central bank paused its rate-cutting cycle in August after 15 consecutive months of reductions. But officials suggest more cuts may be on the horizon. The deputy governor hinted that there could be 1 or 2 more quarter-point cuts this year, depending on inflation trends and monetary decisions both by the Fed and the ECB. Inflation in Hungary reached 4.6% in August after months of decline. So you just heard that the National Bank of Hungary announced yet another decision to further lower its interest rates. This was the bank's 12th cut since October 2023. On the back of this decision, we want to explore the country's broader economic decisions over the last year or so, domestically and within Europe. So stay with us for the bottom line. Excuse me. Russia could increase its military budget to record high in 2025. The elevated spending is expected to continue over the coming years.
With Russia's invasion of Ukraine showing no end in sight, the Kremlin aims to boost its war effort. According to a draft budget seen by Bloomberg, 40% of Russia's budget next year will be allocated to military spending. This amount, totaling 142 billion euro, exceeds the combined spending on education, healthcare, social policies and the national economy. Unspecified expenditures are expected to rise to 30% of the budget. The draft projects a decrease in defence spending from 6.2% of GDP in 2025 to 5.6% in 2026 and 5.1% the following year. Despite this significant increase in military spending, the Kremlin expects the budget deficit to shrink more than threefold in 2025.
Swedish battery producer Northvolt has announced it will lay off 1,600 employees. However, the company's facility in Gdańsk will be spared from the workforce cuts. The layoffs will affect the company's Swedish operations. 1,000 workers at the Skellefteå factory, 400 in Västerås, and 200 at the Stockholm headquarters. The company's Gdańsk factory in Poland will not be impacted by the layoffs. However, earlier this month, Northvolt announced it is seeking an investor or partner to run its Gdańsk operations. Northvolt's woes come as lower demand for electric vehicles has led to a slump in new orders. As a result, the company's largest plant operated at only 1/16 of its capacity in 2023. Last year, the company reported a loss of €1.2 billion. Companies listed on the Warsaw Stock Exchange will face a significant shake-up in senior positions to ensure gender parity ahead of an upcoming EU directive. Prepared by the Polish Ministry of Justice, the draft of the law has been sent for consultation. Around 200 listed companies will need to make changes to their management and supervisory boards to comply with the bloc's new directive. The new regulation requires EU companies to ensure that 33% of the combined management and supervisory boards are represented by underrepresented sex, typically women. Micro, small and medium-sized enterprises that employ fewer than 250 workers and have an annual turnover of less than €50 million or a balance sheet total of under 43 million will be exempt from the new rules. Private-held firms have until June 2026 to implement the changes, while state-owned companies must comply by the end of 2025. Failure to comply with the regulations could result in a fine of 10% of annual turnover. And that's all for our latest business news updates. For more of the latest business news stories, check out tvpworld.com.